Yeah, just clean stuff. Like you said, the rotation from the Chronos, big time stop, big impact there. Rival trying to make a big impact in game number 2 as the loser. They do have the option for first or second. They're going to go for the first pick.
I know all eyes might be on taking that Fafnir away from emilZy because, yes, Fafnir does contribute heavily to the double hunter composition, and part of it, the reason why NRG has had so much success with it. But I want to see a Chronos ban. Over everything else, I think that this Chronos just allows for NRG to be able to have more flexible God pick selections since you are still getting that burst of magical damage.
And Vote can't play it. Sorry, folks. We watched him try. It didn't come up good. Not exactly something I want to see again. And a side note here for what Team Rival did, they said in interviews, we saw it in all the games, they are all about this solo side pressure. They want to get the solo side pressure. The entire tournament, they looked for solo side pressure. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, solo side pressure. Grand Finals, Sunday, Chonga.
Chonga can certainly get it for you, potentially she's able to get ahead, but just not going to happen here in this game. Rival was so all in, it felt like, on trying to slow down Yammyn in the middle lane that never really got off the ground for them. I think part of it is that they needed Collis to have a bigger impact early on because of the Bacchus selection. Collis, for my money, has become maybe the star of this Rival roster. I think it's not unfair to say. He is continually the one facilitating for the rest of the squad when he can get a high priority pick. I understand the idea with the Bacchus. If you're trying to slow them down early on, Bacchus is one of the best gods for that. But I want to see them get him on something a little bit more high priority right now, a little more top tier, and get Collis in a position to facilitate.
Certainly possible. Collis, one of my favorite stories, coming all the way from substitute for Cuvo Fred and the boys over in an international land to now, as you said, superstar in his own right of his own team. Team Rival certainly looking for a little bit more out of their support player. Bans out now. No Fafnir, no Serket from Rival. NRG say no to the Artie and the Athena, which leaves Rival's Wlfy to play Thoth.
Thoth has been left open, but same could be said for Giannis and John Queen. There's a lot of top-tier picks right now still eligible for NRG to take, and I like the idea of a Giannis pickup here for Yammyn because they did receive a Fafnir ban, so Rival trying to shut it down from that avenue. Chernobog, another pretty top-tier selection, though, and this might even be the Yambog.
It's possible to see the Yambog, but at the end of the day, you're going to pick a hunter. He was MVP in game number 1. Emil right there has had really just a standout tournament.
Emil really has kind of come in, I feel like, for this NRG roster. At the beginning, they really needed it because the maniaKK adapting were getting a little bit out-pressured, so they really needed emilitoo to step up. Now he's doing his role. He's doing it excellently, of course, as well as you could ask for him, but it hasn't felt like they necessarily had to lean entirely on him, at least not so far here today and the last time we saw them play, but he's playing excellent.
What I like about this Chernobog pick also is that it kind of forces Rival into a bit of an awkward position because now they have to decide upon taking their hunter in the top 3 choices or taking a gamble that this is going to be Yammyn with the mid lane Chernobog, and that 4th and 5th pick is still going to be the period where NRG waits to choose who's going to be repping in that dual lane for Emil.
A lot of discussion here from NRG going deep into their bang time already. Rather early in the picks and bans, and we don't really talk about that time clock for these teams a lot, but I think it's very interesting that only 20 seconds left of bank time so far for NRG, and we're on the first pick. So what are they discussing, Taco?
Right now, it's probably a discussion as to which lane they're going to prioritize. Do we want to prioritize our support? That way we can force Rival into choosing their dual lane and revealing that early on to give better top choice picks for adapting and maniaKK. And I like that strategy from NRG because by being able to hold adapting and maniaKK's picks until the latter portion as second pick, they're going to be able to see the entirety of Rival's draft, and it's a lot easier to build around that.
With the Fafnir ban, can NRG play double hunter?
I think they absolutely still can, especially here with this Terra having been selected. No, you can't AoE coerce, but you can Earth in Fury, right? And then now you have the Hunters coming in, breaking those stones rather quickly, and still getting effectively extra damage there in the fight.
And see, this is the problem for Rival, is that we were just talking about how last game we wanted to see them focusing on that solo lane pressure because you know that NRG is going to be gunning for controlling that part of the map. Rival go for the Chulainn, but now do they take a Hunter or do they take a support, or do they just leave both out there in the open for Vote and Collis to try and figure out after the fact? But it's just how controlling those 3rd and 4th pick bans can be that Rival now feeling a little bit pressured to go for their Hunter, make sure that Vote is on a pick he's comfortable with if he's going to be left alone so often with Emil.
And I love this Hachiman because he's sort of a discount Fafnir, right? Coerce is going to be one of the better abilities to amplify your basic attack characters, but Banner can absolutely do the job as well.
That could potentially have been something NRG had wanted as their second Hunter, sort of cover up that gap. Instead, they're going with the Achilles here, and I really like this selection, Taco. I know you're not the biggest fan here of the Achilles yourself, but the execute can be very strong, particularly if they're worried about Rival getting a rather bulky comp to follow up with this or leaving that Junqui available. Plus, it can be just great to get you started early on if they want to put in the jungle or in the solo.
Achilles, it's not that I don't like him so much as it is that he really only does one thing, and that's bring damage. If you can build a composition around this execute, then you're usually in the green light and you're good to go. But a lot of times I think that teams get a little bit over ahead of themselves,
like overvaluing,
by yes, because they try to just charge all in with that burst damage off of the Achilles and kind of just forget that he doesn't offer any hard CC or control. And so if you don't have those features to complement this pick, then it's typically not going to pan out in your favor. NRG have already picks that can complement an Achilles quite well. Between the Chernobog, he has that root potential in the Crystallized Curses and the Vicious Barrage. There's also Terra that has the Earth and Fury. That's going to be large amounts of damage, all being expended at once, and that is what really opens the gateway for Achilles to just come through with the cleanup on that execute.
One of the things I do like about the Achilles selection, because I'm in your camp, I think he is sometimes over-prioritized. Achilles can, all three of the characters on Rival's side do have a dash. Achilles can be able to catch up to them with a dash of his own, or even the ultimate. And Mercury, with the longest range dash as far as the ultimate is concerned. This is NRG saying, all right, Kenneth, do it. You've done it before. Do it again. And I don't think that there are many doubters there in the field to really say no to that. Rival are having the opwash, and this is probably one of the few teams that we could actually entertain this selection. With that said, is Terra enough of a healer to warrant the opwash pick?
Highly doubtful that this opwash actually gets locked in. It's not the first time that Rival have teased us with the hovering of the Poochies, and I think that with Chulainn being in play already, it would be a little bit hard-pressed to believe that that's going to be a jungle Chulainn.
With that said, you know, the jungle Chulainn is something that we've seen before, and if anybody's going to do it, I think Ice would have, but it's going to be the Hun Batsinator coming through, the party monkey himself. I do like this selection. Next to the Ares is exactly where I wanted him to go. Hun Bats and Ares is one of my favorite combinations of characters because you absolutely have to use your beads. There are some gods that provide crowd control that you don't have to beads, you don't have to use. If you sit in Fear No Evil, you die. If you get Ares pulled, you die. This is top tier competition. Finchy, how do you feel about Nuwa?
I like Nuwa, and I like what NRG did here by leaving that pick up open. It kind of made it a little bit more difficult, especially with Rival very likely still needing to pick their jungler. They're not exactly sure how or what type of mid laner it is that they're trying to put pressure onto. And then Nuwa, you could pick up, you just talked about how you're kind of forced to use beads. Well, she can be relatively safe, able to go up into those fire charts and get away relatively easily from either one of them. I like this in response. It does bring, like Taco is asking for, a little bit more control in some team fights if she's able to get those clay soldiers off and some nice burst damage too.
I love both of these drafts because NRG and Rival respectively have two very distinct concepts going in these compositions. NRG's, if you want the breakdown, they're focusing to be Achilles as the star with that fatal strike. The execution factor is there because you have Mercury, Nuwa, Terra, Chernobog. All these gods are going to be fantastic at getting everybody into that execute threshold. That is where we could really see NRG start to prosper because just in case it doesn't work out, there's still the straight up killing blow factor with this Nuwa, Mercury, Chernobog. They all have such great chase and dive potential that I think that could work out really well for NRG if they're safe. And then the same for Rival. You know everything's going to be based around that no escape, fear no evil. But Hachiman and Thoth, perfect cleanup men for the job.
Crowd control or damage. That's the basic breakdown here. Rival and NRG. Who's going to take this one is what I ask y'all out there in Mixer chat. And straight up, NRG looked so strong in game number 1. Rival, I'm not going to ask if they have what it takes to overcome because we absolutely know that they have what it takes to overcome. The question really is, will we see it? Is it there? Can they execute it? It's going to be a tall task.
And I think that they have a chance here. I was saying I wanted to see Collis on something he can control a little bit more on or kind of run the game with. Ares is certainly that.
So right now, Rival and NRG going to game 2 of our grand finals of 4 the summertime land. Rival and NRG, Hindu and aggro, ready, set, go.
We really are ready, set, go, and it's all about how this one begins.
Oh, come on. It's new ADC.
We fell for it?
Come on, man. Of course. NRG back to their nonsense.
I like this composition because this is pick-heavy composition from NRG. All in one lane. Solo lane, mid lane, Mercury down the lane. You've got Nuar ultimate. Yammyn can jump across if he needs to. This is all about survival for the carries and finding picks, whereas Rival, I think they've got to get off to a very good start here.
They do. They definitely do. I think just for morale's sake. I mean,
yes.
Who cares about compositions?
Sure.
I just think that Rival needs a pick-me-up at this point to get not just beat, but beat convincingly 4 games in a row is going to start to weigh on you and your understanding of what the meta is. The good news for Rival here is that this game is very different than the meta we've seen develop here so far during the summer split. Really, the only similarity is that Yammyn is playing an auto attacker in the mid lane. Outside of that, it really feels very similar to metas in the spring, where Rival was at their most dominant.
Well, you saw Deathwalker there popping a horrific emblem is what he started with, but maniaKK playing it relatively safe there, didn't end up getting punished by it. Teleport was his selection, so there's definitely going to be an advantage in that solo.
It was actually a horrific emblem to stop maniaKK from getting in range to get XP from the blue buff. It wasn't to get any sort of kill potential.
That's insane.
It was to deny him the golden experience from the blue buff, and it worked because maniaKK's still only level 1.
Yeah, good point. I didn't really think about why he popped that. I was like, it was a bit awkward, but only at level 1. What's he going to do? Kill you there?
That's some Deathwalker stuff if I've ever seen it. That's the frenzy chalk during the hog meta. That is the big brain plays. This time, I think it's a lot smarter than that frenzy chalk.
Well, seeing a Batz for the first time in a little while. He generally does like to come out at LAN, even though a lot of players say it's a bit easy to deal with at LAN with the lower ping, easy to beat against when you hear that Fear No Evil come out. But then again, adapting's on one of his signature gods, which a lot of people don't recognize as one of his signatures. Oh, trust me, it is.
Oh, it really is. And I think this is really smart from NRG because the previous games, it's been the Yammyn and emilitoo show, and adapting's there to kind of be the facilitator. Even on a god like Susano, he was really playing facilitator. This time, he can still facilitate. Mercury certainly has that capability, but this is the carry time. This is where it's going to start to happen.
Overhand smash just off the mount from iceicebaby. Leaps away from the dash, however, from adapting, so gets to hold on to his beads from now. I would have expected the beads to get burnt there, especially with Yammyn just waiting around the corner.
Yammyn doesn't have a lot of hard CC to follow up with, but enough to probably threaten iceicebaby, so quick leap gets him away as someone trying to get away on this left-hand side. emilitoo, he's dead.
Burn, baby, burn! Disco Inferno! Vote with the last auto! Brings him down, and emilZy can only stand by and watch as his new War AD carry falls.
That is huge. Rival getting some confidence, some much-needed confidence at this point, and setting behind this new ADC. You got to do it early. It's a red buff invade now from Rival.
Yeah, 4 men strong. Got to be very careful here, Yammyn. Very respectful not to go too aggressive. Deathwalker, meanwhile, may have bitten off more than he could chew. Doesn't have the range to transform. Not level 5 either. The vent will do some decent damage, but it's going to be a 1-for-1 across the map.
Adapting in the perfect spot to punish Team Rival for being too aggressive on the left. He knew the Deathwalker was getting no help whatsoever on the right, and really that's just on Deathwalker for invading, knowing that his jungler's on the left-hand side. A rare misstep by Rival solo laner.
Yeah, I just didn't recognize where adapting would be there. Knowing the blue buff was you're completely correct. But the main thing is this dueling getting off to a good start from Rival. We always talk about Ares as a very feast or famine god, and Chulainn one of the greatest Ares players we've ever seen.
And it's getting him a lead like this. Not first blood, which honestly probably kind of wanted in that spot, but it does get Vote to his Devourer's Gauntlet's
Vote would
faster.
say no, though.
Vote would always say no. Vote wouldn't want Chulainn to get any kills at all if it were up to him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure Rival were upset with how that game went for Chulainn yesterday, where he got the top KDA, I believe. So,
yes.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense there.
Put him back in his place as the support. He's not supposed to be getting that many kills. This Nuwa in the early game is really the best time to punish her because once she hits level 12, it's impossible to zone her at all.
Keep an eye on this right-hand side. Big ol' sonic boom. And now the pressure's still on for Deathwalker. Not level 5 yet. maniaKK doesn't even need the execute to clean up this kill. What a great start from NRG on this right-hand side of the map. Whereas the left is a different story, granted, but It's one versus the other now.
And maniaK's able to hold on to Fatal Strike, and that means Deathwalker's not out of the woods quite yet.
No.
I mean, he could come back to lane and immediately get ganked again.
No, it's no teleport too. This is why it's getting
teleport.
abused even more.
Yep, that horrific emblem. It was a cool little strat that he used to make sure maniaK didn't hit level 2 very early, but maniaK now level 6. And Deathwalker's only level 4. He's going to need some help from iceicebaby, but with one more gank, it gets to the point where iceicebaby can't even help anymore. And that's where it gets really ugly, where you're asking for your jungler for help, and their only response is, I don't think I can. Like, it's just bad for me to come over there because then I get punished.
Well, the true beads burners are online now. Both Fear No Evil and the No Escape are available for Rival. Big ultimate on the right-hand side, though, from Deathwalker and the horrific emblem.
Body
maniaK
blocks.
trying to get out, but a beautiful body block. iceicebaby with his first rotation to the right-hand side pays dividends for Rival.
And he holds on to that Fear No Evil, which is also critical. Just good communication there between Deathwalker and iceicebaby, and that's the difference between a lot of teams. I think a lot of junglers, even at that point, would have said, sorry, dude, you're kind of on your own now. I can't help you out. Ice heads right on over, sacrifices a little bit of farm by giving up the blue buff, but make sure that Deathwalker gets back in it. Deathwalker just caught up in XP in the blink of an eye.
Main thing is, though, that NRG did rotate to soak the experience that would have been missed in that lane with maniaK falling down there too. emilitoo now just going to have to continue to farm at a safe distance. He's always going to be aware of blink ultimates coming out from the Ares, trying to burn those beads on cooldown wherever possible.
But now that he's level 5, he's got the opportunity to stay alive as blink forward. maniaK, no ultimate, no escape, no life in a second. Lane. He's no way he gets out of this, right?
Third chain connects and the Searing Flesh brings him down. Fear No Evil from iceicebaby just to push back Yammyn. Love the patience from Yammyn, not to beads there either.
Yep.
Expecting an all-in commit when the damage had already been done.
And this is a total different look from Team Rival in games 1 to 2, where they are really trying to get pressure on the solo lane. Both teams are, which is different from game 1. And that's where, like I said, this meta that developed where it's a lot more leaving the solo laners alone, going with their weird sort of selections. This sort of meta now in game 2 favors Rival, where they're playing around Deathwalker. And I think it is not as advantageous for NRG, where maniaK is much better at taking those lanes where he just kind of waits for a little bit and then makes big plays in the team fights and really frontlines very well. His laning phase really isn't that good as far as top-end solo laners, and that's okay. That's an okay weakness to have, but it's not as good whenever the other team recognizes it and tries to punish you for it.
emilZy going to dash in and pop his ultimate. Callus rooted in place, and the beatdown from Yammyn's good.
No!
Oh my goodness
Okay.
me, those walls. At least he died, but
Okay.
that wall from emilZy nearly cost his team massively there. 3-3 as the Callus does fall down, and that's the issues with an Ares.
Okay, we made it, boys. Adapting needs a nose job after that. We just went Mach 5 straight into a stone wall.
I was about to turn around and go, what a great play from emilZy for Rival.
That would have been absolutely nuts if it was on the other side to block that away. That would have been the play of the year, potentially.
That's why I got so hyped. And
Yeah,
I was even more hyped when I was like, ooh, he did it.
I knew it was a bad thing right away. I was like, no, at least they got it. At least they got it. We're okay.
So with that then, we're going to see that pickup of Callus just to slow him down ever so slightly. We spoke about this solo lane. We've seen a lot of ganks already, Ryan. Honestly, as keeping Deathwalker even is important because he's going to be so much more useful, in my opinion, as this game progresses to these team fights.
Yes, in one way I agree with you, but I do think that Fatal Strike is really, really good in this match for a couple different reasons. Number one, it's best against low mobility targets. Ares is the best low mobility target here, especially if he tries to get off an ultimate right as he's dying. He's basically all but rooting himself during that cast, and that's a guaranteed execute that then maniaK continue to use. And that's where maniaK's going to be useful. Not as, the frontliner and the zoner and that kind of stuff. I think Deathwalker will be able to do more with this selection, but for those finishing touches, those finishing blows, that's where maniaK's going to be big.
emilitoo going to ult early, worried about Vogt's aggression, but Vogt's still going because it was a bait! Yammyn rotates over and the living nightmare is here in the flesh! emilitoo did all he needed to do and just draw Vogt into a bad spot.
Yep, Vogt led with mounted archery, and Yammyn punishes him immediately, and that's one of those it's kind of like that's planned by NRG here. Let's pick a low mobility hunter, or in this case a mage, someone in the duo lane, and I think we could get Vogt to bite on this hook.
He's had troubles with this before.
He has, and it's very rare for him, especially at LAN these days, to fall for that. but I truly think that emilitoo is baiting himself intentionally.
So with the builds coming out from Vote here, bit of a difference than what we used to seeing. Normally it's Devourer's Gauntlets at the start of the game, but not this time round.
No, instead he rushes the Bloodforge. So he did this yesterday or 2 days ago against PandaKat when PandaKat was playing Freya. And I was talking to Barracuda about it, and he was saying that because Freya gets off to such a fast start in 1v1s because of the innate lifesteal that she has, you need Bloodforge to be able to compete and be able to keep up in the early stages. This time, that's not really the case for Nuwa. She's not going to beat you in the 1v1. I think Vote just wanted 70 power at the click of a button and is trying to get a lead with this. I don't think he's trying to wait for that ramp-up time for Devourer's Gauntlets, because by the time he'd get enough power to solo down Emil would have Warlocks.
Adapting on the left-hand side. He's looking for a Sonic Boom. Unfortunately, though, Vote's not in lane just yet. The question is, how much time does Adapting waste over here? He's still hanging out. This is one of the classic angles that not many players can deal with. It's hard to ward this position.
Yes.
But it is wasting some time.
Really, the only way to ward it is to ward right where Adapting is right now, between Tier 1 and Tier 2 tower, and then hope that they don't take the weird pathing of out and then back towards the tower to walk around it, and no one has had the opportunity to ward that. Adapting didn't have a whole lot to do during that time, and so that's why I don't think that's a bad call to just sit there and wait. He isn't waiting to finish an item. His XP harpies on the right side just spawned, so he's able to go up and clean up those. Mid camps were down at the time. He could have easily backed and bought a ward, but he's already got those in his inventory, so that he wasn't really wasting anything.
Mid camps are up. His Vote goes very deep in the jungle just to place a ward down there. Recognize there was 3 people mid. NRG not going to contest those left-hand harpies, instead surrender them in favor of the right-hand side of the moment. Both solo laners have been left alone for a moment or two.
They have been, and that has allowed Deathwalker to continue to get a bit of a lead now that he's gotten a couple ganks in a row, even though he doesn't have any kills, and maniaKK has 2. Deathwalker's been able to control buffs very well. What, from that side?
Well, it came through. Wlfy's under pressure, looking for the final judgment. Good up from emilitoo. As Callus takes a lot of pressure, but still alive. Fear no evil through. Yammyn gets into the wall in time. As still, everybody alive.
Man, that was close. That angle from Adapting was so smart. Not only was it perfect to surprise Wlfy, but also put him in the perfect spot. He stopped on a dime in order to follow up perfectly.
We talk about the rotations from the Hunters. Vote made his way over here, which has given emilitoo a bit more free farm. Obviously, he's got that global pressure to make an impact without having to leave the lane. As NRG, though, recognize a window and take away a nice cheeky Pyromancer.
Chernobog's so good at seeking away objectives because of that insane attack speed steroid that he has in the Vicious Barrage. Also, his passive ups his DPS very nicely on those objectives. And Yammyn didn't go for the Transcendence that we've basically seen consistently from Chernobog players so far this tournament. Instead goes for the more traditional Devourer's Gauntlets.
I think this is smart up against Wlfy, though, on the top, and you're going to take a lot of poke in this lane. Sustain, so important.
Very much so, and it does limit his burst damage. The reason you see Transcendence, even though he only has 2 damaging abilities, is because if you detonate the one and hit the first part, that's 160% scaling. If you hit both sides of the dash, that's a bunch of scaling. About, I believe, 140%, 70 per. So that's why Transcendence works, even though he doesn't have a lot of ability damage in the kit.
So gold at the moment is just slightly in favor of NRG. Mainly comes down to that Pyromancer separating the 2 teams right now. Experience, really nothing to shout at home about again, but the last game was about this pace, and 10 minutes later, NRG won the game.
It was over. All around that Gold Fury that totally broke down. So we'll see if Rival want to try and go around that Gold Fury again, or maybe if NRG do. This time NRG's composition is far worse at burning, but they're still good. I mean, they are worse, don't get me wrong, but it's still solid between a Mercury and a Chernobog.
We spoke about how objectives are rivaled, right? Like, that's what Europe has been talking about. But it looks like NRG have worked out how to deal with that now. They're allowing them to start it and go, don't worry about it.
And I talked about that during their first set, because NRG doesn't care about where the objective goes. They just kind of say, hey, the chips will fall where they may, but we're damn sure going to win the fight afterwards. And that's their mentality, and I think that's the perfect way to approach Rival.
And what happens with Rival, I feel, is they focus on the objective, but the moment the team fight starts, they focus on the team fight too. And expect you to focus on the objective.
Exactly.
But NRG aren't doing that.
No, they just bypass what they're supposed to be looking at, which is, you know, kills don't win Smite games, objectives win Smite games. But kills at objectives win you Smite games pretty easily.
God, that was like a complex formula.
Yeah, it's kind of like the transitive property, but nothing like that at all.
Left-hand Harpy is going to split between the 2. Sonic Boom charge from Adapting, looking towards these Oracles and where Vote is right now. but Callus and iceicebaby are around 2. Root onto Callus will connect, but he slams his shield, and it does give him a bit of crowd control reduction there to help him out.
emilitoo was expecting emilZy to land that stun off the root, but that bolster defenses, I think, got Callus out of that root before emilZy was ready for it. That does give you crowd control reduction, and Callus used it at the perfect time.
Can we just check in with Callus? I want to see if he is maxing that bolster defenses, because you see it happen sometimes.
No.
Not this one, just at 1 point. It's going to be enough for him here.
Bolster defenses is a sleeper broken ability, by the way.
It's funny, depending with how the game is going, it's whether you max that second or not based off the game in the grand scheme of things. So like if you're having a bad start to the game, you're like, all right, I'm just going to max this out, make sure I take less damage, so does my team, and it's hard to keep me pinned down.
It's like a better shell on a stick. It's absolutely nuts. Whatever anyone thinks about, old shell I should say. It's whatever anyone thinks about Ares, it's all about the ultimate and the chains. You should probably start thinking about bolster defenses, because it is one of the best Guardian abilities, bar none.
One of the reasons why you do get Ares seen in a lot of plays as well. I mean, he is a aggressive god, but you can play him defensively. Just not many players do that. Callus, one of the best ones at judging the right time to be aggressive or defensive as an Ares. And that's why he can really shine and bring it to competitive play.
There's a lot of little intricacies with Ares. Your bolster defensive timing is huge, but also making sure you use it, weaving in auto attacks, using bolster defenses after you chain to get that extra bonus. Like there's a lot of things that Ares is definitely a lot more complex than just the arena noob stomper.
I mean, basic-wise, press alt, win game, sure, but definitely different levels of play. 7 kills then in this one as we see Deathwalker heading back to base so far. Build's coming along quite nicely at the moment, but he doesn't have teleport, and I wonder if that's going to make an impact as this game continues.
Deathwalker is going no teleport basically all summer split long. He really just doesn't seem to like it very much.
I'm only worried because Adapting and Yammyn are 2 gods that are very good at split pushing here and getting themselves out of danger again.
So is Nuwa.
But, I mean, with Nuwa, the thing I'm looking at is like the escape potential.
Sure,
of
it's
the
low,
extension,
but
right?
you can get help from Yammyn very quickly if Nuwa is the one to split push. And so I think that is something to worry about, but Rival have really started to become masters of NRG's own technique in a lot of ways, of when you'll see one team split push, instead of trying to defend it, they'll try and get more out of their split push while sending only one person back to stop the really bad situations. I think Rival feels confident enough without teleport to be okay, and Thorns is awfully good here for Deathwalker. It allows him to frontline against Adapting and Yammyn way easier. And it also, emilitoo, once he uses Fire Shards to buy himself some time, if let's say he escapes with 100 HP, goes up into the sky, Thorns will bring him crashing down.
Very true indeed. I mean, it's just going to be awkward to see how this one plays out if the split push-ups has come available. But Deathwalker knows what he's doing. You know, he's been around the scene for a while now. He's made a name for himself off his own back, I would say, more than anything else.
Yes, especially in the build department. So I'll leave him to his own devices, I suppose.
Generally, when players come into the scene, you're like, well, that seems suspect. I've never seen that before. Hold that thought. Callus going to get rooted in place, but return the chains to emilZy so he can't double dash away. Those chains hitting emilitoo caused a lot of problems, but the ultimate off the mark from Wlfy. Both getting all in by Yammyn, though, who made the rotation with Adapting. And on the backside, emilitoo does survive.
Still alive. Good stun onto Yammyn. His beads. No escape unless you're in a wall, so he's safe and sound as maniaKK coming clean up crew. Isle Gold Fury. Wlfy is going to fall as well. Deathwalker now the only one standing for Rival.
And Deathwalker just a little late on this rotation. May try and stay for the Gold Fury, but he won't be there in time. Instead, now he's got multiple targets to look at. Knockup does not affect emilZy as he's playing the Terra as Adapting's beatdown comes through. The Thorns helped him for a moment, but will emilZy be able to cut this off?
Deathwalker should be able to escape that extra movement speed from Vent Anger, though maniaKK not going to let him go. Combat dodge gets the kill. It's a full deicide for NRG Esports as they continue to look dominant here.
2 fights now that we've seen Rival. Game 1 was a very similar situation, and Game 2 now the same thing has happened where NRG just had the number of Rival in these team fights.
emilitoo bought just an infinite amount of time. It also split the team fight really, really well. NRG's target focus is just, it's a work of art. It really is. I mean, Vote uses his mounted archery a little bit early, and then Adapting in emilZy, I believe, or someone, I don't even know who it was. It was Yammyn, you're right, thank you, was all over him instantly. Adapting finds the perfect angle. Calculations were great from him there, and he's able to jump all over Vote. Rival is just so split up in these team fights, and that is not what we're used to seeing from them. Usually, they work together very well as a unit. It's usually Rival where I'm fawning over their target focus in team fights, but it seems a little bit split right now. Rival just seem not quite themselves this entire LAN.
It doesn't. I don't think they're happy about it either. You've seen them themselves. They're not happy with how things have been going either. But at the moment, I mean, with this LAN, they've lost 4 times so far to NRG. This could be the 5th in a row.
And then they would need to win 3 in a row, and then 3 out of the next 5.
Well, we'll get to that in Game 3, if we get to Game 3 and see where it falls. But at the moment now, Rival trying to answer back as they always do, grouping up in mid lane. Hachiman batted down for the auto attack speed. EmilZy actually going to drop that wall down to try and slow down the DPS. But it seems NRG's okay with this, because guess what? maniaK's getting a tier 2.
He's totally fine with this, but emilitoo jumped on, no beads, but he had the ultimate ready. Adapting here to join the fray is Kalas gonna pull in, adapting, and he's gonna fall quickly.
Wlfy picks him up, but emilZy low too. emilitoo pretty much out of this fight. Yammyn trying to box against the world. He has to jump in the wall for safety, but when he comes out, there's a ring of Rival waiting. The poke was good. Deathwalker with the kill. Looking for the beatdown on emilZy in the back as maniaKK front lines. Searing flesh to the face from Kalas as the heals come through for Wlfy. maniaKK looks to escape, but Wlfy's finger will claim the life of the solo laner.
I love this call from Rival, but they're not done yet. Deathwalker! Too much! And look at his face, he knows, man, that is not what Rival needed. Just as they're getting momentum, Graham, Deathwalker throws his life away. The good news for Rival is that there was nothing else to take. Not a buff, not a jungle objective, so Deathwalker's death truly nearly irrelevant, but still gives emilitoo a kill, still gives him some extra golden experience. But I do want to focus on the positives here from Rival. I love that call to play aggressive. Even though all the momentum's against them, even though it feels like nothing is going their way, and they're losing this game as they've lost the last 4, they recognize that this is their best chance to take a fight, because emilitoo's only getting stronger on the new Adapting's only getting stronger, Yammyn's only getting stronger, and most importantly, all the relics were down. And Rival's composition punishes not having beads really, really well. Deathwalker, despite being down, still plays with confidence, maybe a little bit too much towards the end, and then ends up making plays. That's the resiliency of Rival. And if I had to just use one word to describe Rival, it would be resilient.
And it's the difference between those top teams of realizing that you can't just roll over. Yes, you're losing the game, but just sitting back and waiting for a mistake, it's going to take too long or never happen sometimes.
Yes.
Sometimes you've got to go on the forefront and hope for the play to work out. In my head, though, Rival getting the 2 towers in mid lane are definitely more worthwhile than this right-hand side, because the whole map of energy now opens up with no safety in the mid lane.
Yes.
Meanwhile, Rival, you know, they get this one on the right-hand side, and it kind of evens things out on this side, too.
See, this is interesting, because relics are now up for energy, whereas Rival are still missing some, but this feels to me like they just want to keep momentum going. They just don't want to let energy reset and think about what to do next.
But the compositions, I mean, look at how the design. Rival is all in team fight. Burn your beats, kill you. Energy are picks. It's all about picks, and oh man, are we gonna go for that? No, okay.
No, okay. But I love this mindset, man. It's just, you have to answer us. What are you gonna do about what we're doing to you right now? Now, they may have made a mistake, because if they just back after clearing tier 2 on right, they defend both, at least one of those tier 2 towers. That was a mistake, but they're going to go right for fire.
Into the sky goes emilitoo to give vision. Living Nightmare is available. The Fear Weevil was good.
Rival it.
And it will get the Fire Giant for Rival.
But Yammyn right onto the back line. Kalas getting shredded down. No escape for him. He falls quickly. Vote gets knocked off the horse.
Big crit.
And it's an absolute bloodbath. Rival got fire, but only one is still burning. Wlfy, the lone bird.
Adapting just not vote into next week with one big crit, and that just cost him so much. Yes, Wlfy's got the Fire Giant, but that pathing may cost him even more. He's going to dash early. He'll be safe, but no, he won't. The blink from maniaKK will get the beads. Now the walls to follow it up. Aegis consumed too. Wlfy under pressure gets the dash away, but it just exposes the middle Phoenix.
Man, I love the mindset. You got to make you force energy to beat you, not just you aren't going to roll over and die. You have to make them actually earn it. But energy's going to earn it right now, man. I mean, that Fire Giant call, that's typical Rival. And we already broke it down earlier. Energy doesn't really care much about the objective. Take a Fire Giant. Only one is going to have it, because they kill 4 afterwards. Rival, instead of trying to maximize their people staying alive, decide to stay and try and fight after using Fear No Evil and Final Judgment just to secure the Fire Giant itself. If that was an even game, there's no way they win it. NRG was in the lead at the time. Just a little bit too much there from Rival.
It's been a long time since I've been able to say NRG are a World Championship level team, but that's what they're looking like right now.
They are a World Championship level team. They are the World Championship level team right now.
It's going to be the same going into Worlds where it's like, okay, everyone's expecting NRG to win if they're going to continue playing like this.
How could you not? I mean, all summer split long, they've looked just based on the eye test like they were the best team, and it's hard to tell a lot of those times if it's actually what you're seeing or if it's just what you expect to see. We actually saw Rival looking like they're catching up to NRG, and so is everyone else.
Well, it doesn't look like Rival's giving up the goose just yet. Even with that middle Phoenix down, they're still trying to shred these towers. Now we're in a spot that one bad team fight either way could end the game, realistically. maniaKK round the back, looking to pressure and push Rival back. Early up from emilitoo, Fear No Evil out as well from iceicebaby defensively, but the damage has already been done. The health bars and Rival are starting to drop.
Vote, Kalas, both
It's
low,
over.
Vote, Deathwalker, everyone. They all are dead. Everybody's dead for Rival, and NRG are going to be one win away.
And with this, it's down to the left-hand side. There's starting to be bad blood brewing between these teams, and I'm looking forward to the
now.
first.
Well, just now. These two have not liked it. These two teams have not been friendly.
It's become more
for some
well
time.
known, is what I'm saying.
Sure.
But now the bad blood's coming through a little bit more. It's definitely going to make things more interesting. And this is what you expect.
This is what you expect. No game has made it to 27 minutes yet between these two in this set. 2 games I know,
And that's because of energy.
but that's with already NRG looking so dominant the other day. What is Rival supposed to do? And this is where not having Alpha Jackal, I think, really hurts them, because it's not that Alpha Jackal is going to have all the answers. He's the secret keeper for how Rival wins games. He's a big part of how they win, but it's not like he's the biggest part. And I'm sure that he would admit that. But I think that you just need someone on the outside to say, we are okay. You've got to calm down. And look, Covert's there for them.
They have cover, but he's not with the
But it's
team.
a different team environment. You know what I mean? Alpha Jackal really feels like that 6th member a lot of the time because he's there all the time. Not having that 6th guy to try to pick you up and say, hey, Death, you played really well in those instances. You just got to reel it back a little bit and have that outside of the game so that it doesn't upset him a little bit. Man, Rival truly on the ropes.
Energy 2-0. Who do you think deserves the MVP for that game?
Adapting.
Yammyn adapting.
Adapting.
They're my 2.
Adapting. maniaKK played very well again. He continues to look better and better as this tournament has gone on. And I feel like he's really reacclimated to LAN. Yeah, I was worried about him toward the beginning of this tournament. Really not worried about him anymore. But for me, Adapting's Sonic Booms were just great. The only one he missed is because EmilZy prevented him from hitting it.
That was the whole idea behind it. 2 games down. This is a best of 5, so NRG just 1 win away from claiming the summer finals. Well, first of all, we're going to break down game 2 on the desk.
Ryan, Hindu, thank you for that, and Energy, thank you for that. That was just a treat to watch right there.
Sometimes there's breakdowns, and then sometimes there is just utter obliteration, and
There's
we saw
breakdowns.
the latter.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
there was just no chance for Rival to really have a chance to come back in that game. And that was a large part of my concern when I initially saw these 2 drafts in the Picks and Bandits phase. NRG's composition just felt like it had so much dive and chase down potential, and I think we really got to see that come into light by the end of this one.
And I really like the way they start this off, right? NRG, again, are looking for that solo jungle pressure. They get 2 quick kills from maniaKK to get him off to a good start, but an immediate response from Rival. Ice starts to show a whole bunch of attention over there, too, to keep things sort of even. But then that fight happens around the Gold Fury. Things get out of control for Team Rival when Adapting just dives onto Vote, and he would continue to do that all game long. Rival had the right idea early on, but the game sort of unraveled for him.
I mean, Yammyn in the middle lane looked absolutely fantastic. Y'all know that I've been on the Yammyn hype train for years at this point. But, well, MVP goes to, no surprise, Adapting. King Kenneth kind of back in the throne. And I think this is very scary, is that Adapting wins MVP, but you could have easily... Oh, my God, the precision.
What?
That's just dumb.
This guy's really good.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, looking at this, you could have easily given Yammyn the MVP. You probably could have even given emilitoo the shout for MVP with the way he played. And when NRG are working on all cylinders, it's really scary.
And that's the problem also, is that adapting was just all over the place with this Mercury. I think it really set up Yammyn a lot of times to also have his own star of the moment type plays, because no one was expecting Yammyn to just come surging in with that living nightmare. When we last saw him play this pick up against SSG, he was also kind of taking up a similar play style with that over aggressive, and he would just dash into the wall if he felt that it was unsafe to remain in that current area. That would just buy so much time for the rest of NRG to then get into position to come in with more flanks.
Yeah, just out of control stuff coming here. And, you know, I said it on Twitter. Historically, NRG used to have this moment going years back where it was like it was the 16-minute mark where NRG would just decide to win the game. And that was during their 2-year dominance. They were back-to-back world champions, and they just decided at 16 minutes that, all right, we're going to win the game. It's gone a little bit forward. It's around this 17, 18-minute mark where NRG goes, we're just going to win the game. And I think this team fight really broke the back of it. maniaKK from the backside started everything off, and then Adapting came down. 2-shot vote kind of out of the way with the sonic boom from the top to the bottom, cut it in half. And it's funny, we have some other broadcasters over here, and I audibly yelled out when that fight went on, and they were like, hey, we're doing something over here. What are you doing? But it's that kind of play that you just can't ignore.
It's really interesting that you talk about it as if it's NRG that kind of, at a certain point they have that moment where they hit go, but it was kind of rival in a weird way, right? They were losing for a little bit. They make that great play around the tier 2 tower in the mid lane, and it starts to look like they swing back the momentum. Then they start forcing the fight in the solo lane as well. They come back towards the Fire Giant, and that's Taco, where I feel like they overstepped. They do get the objective, but because they have Yammyn able to rush in on the Chernobog, Adapting comes in, and I think 564 crits onto Vote and immediately removes him from the fight. It was, for a little while, it was a rival forcing the issue. Fortunately, NRG just answered.
I think it goes without saying that it's nice to have those kind of forced objective play moments, because sometimes that's just a gamble you have to take at competitive levels of play if you want to push yourself up and over the edge. In this particular circumstance, though, NRG just a little bit too strong at fighting back into that, and I think that their overall potential with the composition that they opted for just gave them so many different opt-outs that it made it very difficult for Rival to figure out which one to try and focus around.
Something I know that you wanted to focus on, or at least mention, was the Nuwa selection here. I mean, if you're newer to the scene, that might seem a little bit batty. Why put Nuwa in the side lane? But that's something that we're used to seeing.
So we didn't get a chance to touch this on the desk, but it's actually not that uncommon to see emilitoo on the Nuwa. Historically speaking, he's been playing this pick a lot of times. He's made it very open on his social media presence, even, where he's posted screenshots of just straight Nuwa selections in his ranked conquest
Lots
games.
of wins, by the way.
It's a lot of practice. That's the thing, is that he is very adept, I think, at these magical flex pick hunters, and it's a play style that you wouldn't necessarily expect to see, but it works so well, because what do you want your Nuwa to do? You want her to be there to capitalize off of those engagements that Rival tries to fully commit to. I think we saw multiple breakdowns of the Nuwa factor coming into play, because Rival would engage in mid, suddenly you have to worry about this burst damage from a Nuwa ultimate, suddenly you have to worry about Chernobog rushing in, and then there's Mercury, Sonic Boom also. It's just insane how much chaos they introduce to these team fights off of one simple pick.
And it's really interesting, too, because you talk about you want to play the Nuwa in lane. Initially, he actually falls first in that lane. They get to the nice gank over there, and you think he's going to end up being behind, but he's so adept at farming with this Nuwa pick. I was watching with some of the guys out there in the lobby, and we were like, wait, why is emilitoo ahead? Didn't he just get ganked in lane? He gets over to level 6 first. Even when he ends up falling, he's just that good on this Nuwa pick. He's that comfortable. He's finding a little bit more farm than you. It's not even just from the assist from the fire shards. He's just better in lane.
Yeah, a ton of damage coming out from Nuwa, but a ton of damage coming out from Yammyn, just narrowly missing the MVP. And this has been my guy to watch. Like I said, I've been very vocal about how strong I think Yammyn is, but particularly this tournament, I think that he's been this sort of cornerstone, this bastion of confidence and consistency. And if you're going to not only win, but win as convincingly as NRG has been able to do, I think you absolutely need that guy that always shows up, and it's Yammyn.
And here's the problem now for Rival, is that they've got to come into this set for their final, what could possibly be their final match against NRG, and it has been nothing but a series of consecutive L's in this matchup, because they tried
It's
to
5 in a
default
row now,
back
right?
to some original drafts. Yes, that's what's crazy enough to think about, is that Rival is not a team that we are accustomed to seeing unable to find a response, and that